Welcome to the Tech Log, your weekly log entry at the intersection of technology and business. Short episodes, real conversations. Let's get underway. Most companies and startups did not decide to become AI first. They just woke up one week and were unable to really work without it. Becoming reliant on software is really nothing new. What is new is that AI is doing the knowledge work. It's doing the thinking. It's not just holding information or just making things easier, like often software has done. So today we're going to talk a little bit more what it looks like to be AI reliant, or a little bit about what the buzzword AI first even means. And we're going to talk about how to navigate an environment with so many changing variables, because you don't want to build on sand, but you do want to utilize technology that gets you where you want to go a little bit quicker. So before we dive in today, what is your definition of AI first? It's a buzzword that I've been seeing, pop up here in the last few weeks. What does that mean to both of you?
The only thing that I could think of is these people on X that are like, I never touched a computer before, but then I went and got a Claude account and I told it to make an app, and then I had Claude do the marketing, and then Claude does the customer service, and Claude markets it for me, and it makes its own updates. The person who made the app T, which is where women get together and talk trash about men. That's how that person did it. He woke up one day, he's like, I'm going to make an app, and then he leaked everybody's information.
That sounds more like AI only than AI first.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it does, but I mean, so I don't know if there is an AI first that would.
I mean, I feel like enough people are talking about that. Most of the time, it's like most of these technology buzzwords. Everybody starts saying it, and then everybody's saying it just to say it. And I personally would never use that. Have I used that term at all in a team meeting or any kind of like strategy or anything? I would never say that. I think we're invested in finding the right places in our business to leverage AI, but we're such a customer facing organization. We're never going to be AI first. Using AI first as a strategy to me sounds like, oh, we're just going to choose AI to do things first, whether it's the right tool or not. And it's kind of a terrible strategy, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I mean, where I'm seeing it the most is really in that startup space, or anyone who's a vibe coding their way to an app right now and then hashtag startup. Or maybe somewhat in that, early founder space where they're trying to, take an MVP and get to that next step, and they're calling it AI first, right? Because they don't have a dev team, they don't have a team to build out a product, so they're doing it all within AI. Now, what about a company though that they might not be using that term AI first? They're not like trying to really be reliant on AI, but they're a small business that doesn't have the resources to hire a dev team or somebody who writes code, or maybe even somebody to write proposals, right? They might even be a small team of under 20, but they're finding themselves becoming reliant on AI, maybe to the point where they're realizing they can't do the work at the speed they want to do it, or with the people they have without AI. Do you think that's a line that businesses are starting to cross, where they're becoming maybe a little bit more AI reliant than they were anticipating? Or is that even an issue?
Personally, know if that's an issue. I think it's an issue when it comes to business continuity. If you feel like if that went away tomorrow, you legitimately would not be able to run that business or get back up to speed in a reasonable amount of time. I mean, you could also become overly reliant on a person, right? And then the person gives you their 2 weeks notice, or the person has to go out on disability, and you have to recover from that. So I think as a business owner, a lot of people are willing to take the risk and become reliant on a thing that's going to help them in the short term, whether that's going to be their long-term strategy or not. And a lot of people that's basic risk tolerance for a business owner, right? But I do understand why I think a lot of employees look at that and they start to panic about like, oh my God, we're becoming so overly reliant on AI. But the business owner, in their mind, they may just be weighing that as like, we got to try this because we have the opportunity to try it right now while it costs what it does, We don't know what it's going to cost in future. We don't know where we're going to, a lot of people are still experimenting and figuring out where and if it's going to add a lot of value. And in my mind, it's not really that much different than, taking a gamble on a person, or taking a gamble on a consulting firm, or taking a gamble on any kind of, professional service or product that you could incorporate into your business. It's just one more of those.
You just mentioned that businesses are typically willing to gamble for a short period of time, especially while they can afford something, because it might have a payoff. Do you have any opinions or thoughts on what that timeline might look like right now? I mean, do you think we're seeing immediate payoff, but do you think that's going to shift in 6 months or in 12 months? And maybe I'm talking about the cost of AI, or maybe just how much further AI will even be in 6 to 12 months.
I think that looking back to January of this year and what the capabilities are, it's like the stone ages of AI. Even though I've been using LLMs for a long time now. I mean, coming up on 3-4 years, and really got into it, 2 years ago when I thought it was going to start helping me. But January, it's like, I mean, literally a century away, and I think that we're now living in history because every day something new comes with capability. I don't know that it is going to get to the point where it's going to change the way everything is done, but it makes a lot of things that were repetitive processes so much easier. And every day there's something new that I can automate or offload. So, and the other thing I think too is rather than me prompting AI, I'm now doing a lot of asking AI what it thinks I should do, because it has so much information and so much knowledge and memory of what we've already done, that it's able to guide me to become better or go down a better path.
So let's talk about pricing a little bit. So we all know that these AI labs are not making money right now, right? They're making obviously great enhancements and improvements. And just like you were saying, Jeff, even from January, night and day difference with what we can do with them. But we know for a fact these AI labs are losing money. I think OpenAI has been probably the most transparent. They say for about every $1 of revenue they get, that costs them about $1.69. Some places are arguing that's actually inaccurate. It's probably more like 60 or 80x. Jeff, I know you've done way more research on token spend in this space with AI labs. Do you think that's going to potentially become an issue for a small to mid-sized business that is becoming a bit reliant? Do you think cost is going to be a huge factor here?
So I go back to when I was at Amazon. We had these tenets of you're going to do these things and repetitive processes over and over again, and then if you have defined what the process is, and then you could send it off to these the mechanical Turk, the humans that did the human intelligent tasks, and they were able to do it, and then you did a cost benefit analysis of how much would it cost. And this was an AI. This was deterministic, creating an application to do it. How much would it cost to do that? And if the ROI was that it paid off in a certain amount of time, you went ahead and did the project. Otherwise, you just let these manual things do it over and over again. And I think that, with AI and the capability that it has, and not just doing things that you tell it to do, but doing it in a way that is going to be valuable and deliver substantial capability, then you could somewhat say, hey, I could go and hire a full-time developer who is one person who only knows what they know and can only do what they can do, and has to go to the bathroom and eat food and whatever. But the coding, the syntax, these things are so good at it now that some people aren't even doing code review anymore. And these are like actual legitimate developers who are saying they don't even need to do code review anymore. So when you look at it, you say, oh, I'm spending $500 a month on tokens. I could never get a person for that. And also, even if I could get a person, I could only probably afford one. So
I think, Alexandra, to answer the question about, like, is price going to become an issue? I think price, if and when, I mean, the prices are obviously going to start to go up at some point. That's the case with every piece of software we've ever invested in as a business. And even before we had this business, we worked for another business, and right, like negotiating IT contracts was just part of what we've been doing for the last 15, 20 years. When the price starts to go up, that's going to force people to evaluate the use cases. Right now, the AI companies, I would imagine, are still in the process of socializing everybody to using AI. The reason why everyone is using it and everyone has adopted it so rapidly is because it is really accessible. It is really accessible. It's really cool what it can do. It doesn't take a software developer, right? You don't need to be a super tech savvy person to use it. All you need to do is be able to type some semblance of a thought. You don't even need to type a complete sentence, right? So, if and when the price starts to go up, then people just start to evaluate the value of what they're using it for versus how much it costs. And then, maybe some of this, it's going to take away every human job. Well, it depends how much it costs. It probably, for things like software development, it's always going to cost less than a massive software development team. And so I do think that software development is going to evolve more into like software engineering, where you're orchestrating AI agents to write the actual code, right? Being a proposal writer, being a technical writer, maybe more of being an editor, where you need to have those foundational skills of writing and editing and proofreading, and you're accountable for the work, but maybe you're orchestrating AI to do the technical writing. And I'm not talking about writing novels. I'm talking about technical writing, software documentation, proposals for enterprise contracts, government contracts, those types of things. I mean, those are the things I've done in my career, and I certainly see the use cases for AI in both of those industries. So, I think as the prices go up and the experimentation, may taper off a little bit. I just think right now, anybody that's using it, especially for a business use case, has an unfair advantage, right? Because we're all getting it for an affordable price right now. So the people who are using it right now and come up with a use case that's so valuable that when the price goes up, it doesn't matter, that's who's going to get ahead when it starts to get more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's the argument, though, that the price is going to go up. That premise, I don't think that's the case. I think the price is going to go down.
Yeah, maybe the price doesn't go up. I mean, maybe their cost of doing business goes down too, right?
Well, but I mean, so the other thing is that, with local AI, the capability you have locally on your desk. I mean, my computer isn't a supercomputer. I don't even have an NVIDIA chip. But I can run a local model, and that can do 80% of what I was paying for before. And so now all I'm paying for, aside from the hardware, is electricity. But if you look at the cost of compute on Amazon over the past 15 years, every time that they release a new version of their compute, the price goes down and the capability goes up. And so I'm going to stick to the fact that I think that the price is only going to continue to go down, even for the frontier models over time. And you're just going to get more and more capability for the same amount.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I keep reading about people, comparing it to a utility, which those go up over time. Or, if we're comparing it to other enterprise software, all of that goes up over time. I mean, every year, 3%, 9%, it's 5%, it's whatever percent.
But I think there's some nuances, though, specifically with AI that we've never seen with other software. There's definitely a geopolitical and cultural shift happening that I think is going to create expense for them that might not be seen in terms of like a utility line item or, research and development, right? Because there's going to be, like, we've already seen it, costs with lawyers and just how they're having to approach it marketing wise. And then there's going to be an infrastructure cost here at some point. And, we might be getting a little off rails here, but wasn't it just in Virginia this week? One of the big data centers went off grid on their own accord. went over to their backup power source, and for I think 20 minutes, within 15 miles, the community lost electricity, and it flickered off and on for that one center going off grid had such an impact to the surrounding grids. So I think they're going to, potentially even see infrastructure costs that we've not seen with any other software. I'm interested to see where else are they going to absorb that cost if they don't, at some level raise the cost of their product. It'll be interesting to see where else that money comes from or where else they make it, because it's still a fairly large gap. I mean, none of them are making money right now. I don't think a single AI lab has made money up to this point. I mean, Jeff, I might be wrong there, but I don't believe they have.
I know that Amazon announced their earnings the other day, and I think they said something about their AI investments were paying off. Same thing with Google. But they see, the thing is that they've got the advantage because they already had all of the compute. They already had the infrastructure. And so Anthropic and OpenAI, they're having to build that out. Whereas Meta, Google, and Amazon already had all this infrastructure in place. So they could very well be making money already, or at least having, positive ROI on their investments.
Amazon, when you're referencing, was for their cloud revenue. So they had projected that they would see like a 5 or 6% increase. I think they ended up seeing a 14% increase, something like $45 billion in revenue in June or something like that, or in last quarter. From that they could pinpoint that was coming from like AI development and AI sourced products. So yes, I think Amazon and Google are seeing definitely an increase in activity and business because of this. I guess I'm specifically talking about an AI lab where all they're doing is AI development. I don't think they're making money yet. And to bring that back, I still think our small business owners or people using AI and a consumer space or even an enterprise space, I think eventually they're going to see that impacted on their bill.
But I feel like that's not uncommon in this, especially in the enterprise software space, right? I mean, so Salesforce wasn't profitable for the first 4 or 5 years, and then they would have profitable years, they would not have profitable years, and then there was a stretch from 2012 to 2016 or 2017. They had 5 straight years of losses again. So I mean, that doesn't mean that, and we were Salesforce customers for almost that entire period of time, and it's not like there was any one significant cost increase to us that was like, oh, we can't use this anymore, right? So I don't know. I think there's a lot of unknowns, right? I think right now what we're getting from AI for the price that we're paying for it is extremely valuable. So if the costs were to gradually start to go up, I don't think we'd all of a sudden be like, we can't use this anymore. I think if it went up astronomically very quickly, then we would probably have to reevaluate how and where we're using it. But that's with anything, as a business or as a human being that's managing a bank account, right? Aren't we all figuring out where to allocate expenses based on the value that it's providing all the time?
Lisa, you brought up a great point. It is not expensive right now, right? Even if you were asking your team to token max, you're not spending insane amount of money. I think the outliers, right, might be blowing. Was it Uber? Uber blew their like AI budget in like 1 quarter, right? Like, I mean, millions of dollars. That's an outlier. Like your everyday small business or mid-sized business is not doing that. So it's probably not of concern. But Jeff, on the same vein of that thought, you had also mentioned locally hosted models are so strong and so powerful now. So if there was a small to mid-sized business that was concerned about their cost or becoming reliant on something that is maybe a little, not as steady with costing as, maybe in a software that's existed for 10 or 20 years, they could do something locally, right? And then kind of be able to create a more static environment.
Yeah, and the other thing too is that you then have control of it, and you have a model that isn't training on your data. And so, I mean, and some of them, I mean, Kimmy is, from my testing, as good as or better than Codex and Anthropic. And so I did this research and I said, take all of the models. So uh, Alibaba, which does Qwen, ZAI, which does GLM, DeepSeek, OpenAI, Gemini, Moonshot, Kimi, and Anthropic. And then built a matrix that said, all right, well, cost per token, and then flipped it and said, how many calls, how many things can I do per dollar? And with a 20,000 token input and an 8,000 token output. And with OpenAI, it was 2.8 per dollar, down to Kimi is 17.6 per dollar. So in Kimi, I mean, I can't run it on my computer, but I could run it on a $10,000 computer. And so if you got to the point that you're using that many tokens, then the payoff might be 5 months, 4 months, and you have your own thing.
Jeff, I want to talk a little bit more about Kimmy. I have so many questions and thoughts about like security with, obviously it's Kimmy's from China.
But yeah, it's from China, but who cares?
But I think
It runs on your computer without any internet. So like I could literally go on an airplane with no Wi-Fi from here to San Francisco, and in that 6-hour flight, I can continue doing almost everything that I could do if I was on Wi-Fi, and nothing is going back to China. Like,
so it's just a local LLM. They don't have any kind of cloud interface with it?
Well, I mean, you can use it from a cloud provider,
Okay.
Through an API, but you can also, if you had it, I mean, my computer can't run it, except maybe in a highly quantized version. But I mean, Qwen is almost as good, and it runs in 12 gigs of VRAM. So I can run that. I can do almost everything with Qwen or with Google's Gemma. So
would people be running these models on like their own on-premise servers, or would you put it on like a private server on AWS? Would that serve the same purpose?
That would, but you can run it like on the desktop. But so I mean, you can go down a whole rabbit hole. But so with Buzz that just came out, what's fascinating about that is it allows you to share your compute models with anybody that you're connected to. And so now you're doing a thing where everybody's sharing tokens and the capacity. So a company of 20 people, they could buy one $10,000 server that they control that doesn't send anything back to China or to the labs, and then everybody is able to use that through there. Or if I had on my computer Qwen, you guys could use it without having, you could run it from your phone.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the cost thing, to me, it really it's insignificant. Free or inexpensive model, do as much as you possibly can, and then use one of the premier frontier models to do your planning and maybe your judging, your evaluation, your code review, but letting these cheap models do all the grunt work.
Mm-hmm. I wonder too if some of it will just be your ability to utilize or strategize with AI. So like, Jeff, you have such a knowledge of this, right? And so even reading through this Buzz site, like even scrolling through this, there's going to be a slew of terminology and language that I think your general person who's not that into tech is not going to understand. And so I almost wonder if it will become more expensive for somebody who's, building out some of their business processes or solutions within maybe like Claude Desktop and doesn't have that same tech understanding that you do to understand how to build some things at low to no cost. And so I almost wonder if that actual knowledge is going to become, kind of one of the biggest players of if somebody can manage costs. I think some of that will just also be your existing understanding of technology and that landscape and how to do things that are high quality for the least amount of cost, which is ultimately why people are still coming to a team like us, especially utilizing, your fractional services and Lisa's fractional services to then, understand how do they get there without token maxing or spending thousands of dollars on something. I want to end real quick on maybe the client landscape here. So, Jeff, you do a lot of our internal work, but you work with a lot of our larger clients in a fractional relationship. And then Lisa, you work a lot with our clients in, kind of building and system architecture type way. What are you hearing from clients right now? Is anyone asking to become more AI reliant or AI first? Or is this buzz somewhat artificial? Is this really just in startup space? Like, what are you hearing from clients?
I mean, most of the clients that we have are asking to what the best use cases are for AI within their organizations and doing some analysis around AI readiness, taking time to think about security, permissions, inputs, outputs. What does that look like? I would say most of our clients they've been our clients for so long that they're a little too smart to just be like, we're going to throw AI at this problem. I mean, that's not to say that they don't have employees that are using it in their day-to-day, but as far as like implementing official company processes, yeah, I think a lot of our clients are in the midst of AI implementations and looking for additional areas within their business to leverage AI for sure.
Yeah, I mean, lots of people are looking for ways to automate things. 5-10 years ago, everybody started hiring these. They called them VAs, virtual assistants, and having them do things that are repeatable, that they can make a video showing how to do a process, and then have those people do it over and over and over again. And paying them, yes, they're cheap, but they're not that cheap. And then saying, well, what of those tasks can they automate? And it's a ton of them. And so a lot of people are looking at that and saying, how can we stop spending? We have 5-10 VAs. How can we stop spending that? And then when you do the analysis, you do a work study, and you look at what those people are doing. All of that can be automated. And so people are looking at those things and saying, hey, how can we have more control? And how can we be more responsive and react more quickly? But then, things like just helping to identify places where data lives and how to analyze it in ways that they never thought of. So somebody I was talking to the other day, they had their teams do net profitability, and one team had a 82% profitability on a project, and the other one had 35%. And then when they did the analysis, apples to apples, neither one of them was over 20% because they were using different metrics. Whereas they built a tool that's repeatable and uses the same data, maybe normalizes it, and it's able to give it to them every single day without having to have a human go and pull it and massage it. I mean, Lisa and I used to have, there was a weekly sales stand up, and it was funny because there was a BA team. And so all of the data was in Salesforce, and it would be on, you could have a dashboard and show all the opportunities and the performance of the company. But then the BA team would extract it from Salesforce, and then they would manipulate and massage the data and then put it into Tableau, and then they would come to the meeting and show that. And Lisa and I would be looking at the Salesforce dashboard, and they would be showing stuff that was like, I mean, every single indicator that they were showing was different. And it wasn't just like they were showing higher, some stuff they were showing lower. And so it was just like, hey, let's massage the data outside of the system. But you could do that now with AI. You could just have it, go and extract all the data and then just apply random factors against the data, and then go, here's our dashboard.
No, I don't think that's probably good business practice there. Well, AI first is the buzzword, but AI reliance can definitely be happening in your business. If you think it is, just come at it with a mindset of, knowing that costs may or may not change. And just like any software, you can become reliant on it, but that may not always be a bad thing. I think understanding where your business is and what they're using AI for is a good starting point. And then, of course, strategizing what that cost is and if something local might be a good answer for you, or maybe even really reevaluating what you're building and what you're utilizing AI for. Thank you both for chatting today, and we'll talk more next week. We love to talk technology and business. Learn more about Port and Starboard or connect with us in the show notes. Fair winds until next time.